Hello, Professor Jensen. This is Chris Dempsey, and this is my oral presentation regarding my final research paper. I chose for a topic hunting in Wyoming. I chose this topic because it was relevant and something that was causing me conflict at exactly the time that I needed to choose a new topic. I've been retired from the Air Force for about 7 years now, having moved back to Sheridan where I was born and raised. And this is something that's been kind of near and dear to my heart. I've been hunting here in Wyoming since I was about 12 years old. My grandfather started me on it, and I have a lot of memories with my grandfather and my father and other friends of hunting here in Wyoming. And those memories were a large part of what made me the man that I am today. For this paper, I developed a solid thesis that I used to create and support my overall paper. My thesis was stated as hunting in Wyoming has evolved and that I was completely unprepared for the new rules. As I outlined my paper, I could see the paper develop around the thesis, and the support for this thesis just kind of fell into place. My points for my research strategy and my support for my paper then began to kind of come together. I first looked at the rising number of out-of-state hunters and increased pressure and impact that those out-of-state hunters had on resident hunters. Then I developed an argument regarding the difficulty in gaining access to public lands and private lands to go hunting in the state of Wyoming. And then I looked at other factors that were affecting hunting in Wyoming, such as the introduction of gray wolves, the increasing populations of grizzly bears, and then the other impacts such as the superviruses, such as chronic wasting disease and brucellosis, and how those had an overall effect on the Wyoming game herds. And then finally, I wanted to wrap my paper up by saying that it's just simply gotten more expensive and more complicated to hunt in the state of Wyoming than what I remembered. I was happy to see that a lot of my sources were state and government websites. I was able to get a lot of information from the Wyoming Game and Fish Department website. Everything from talking about public and private lands and how to gain access, as well as the difficulties in trying to do so. They had a lot of information about the increasing numbers of resident and non-resident hunters out in the field and how that was causing pressure on the resident game herds. There was other information from websites that they partner with that talked about landlocked lands that are actually lands owned by the people of the state of Wyoming but can't be accessed by those people. That gave me a lot of information. I was also able to get information from several other websites, to include the National Park Service and some other websites, to give an overall support and picture of the difficulties that I think a resident hunter in the state of Wyoming is having to deal with now. I was impressed with the experience of writing this paper. I remember thinking several times that maybe I'd bitten off more than I could chew, and I was nervous during doing my research and getting the data and the support that I needed to support my thesis. But after starting it, I was pleasantly surprised that there were more stats and data out there than I knew what to do with. The paper really kind of came together after that. But more than that, I realized that Wyoming is changing. Things are getting more complicated, and it gave me a better perspective and some of the answers that I needed to change my hunting plans in the state of Wyoming and move forward. Overall, I thought this was a great paper. Thank you.